Hello, all of you, and welcome for our next session. So, this is a small talk that we'll be doing on the reading habits. It is a area which is concerning many parents, and when we discuss, as parents, when we discuss with each other, this area comes up very often in terms of how do we encourage our kids to read, and what is the importance of reading for children. So we thought it would be good to understand this from the specialists and experts who are dealing with books and reading and dealing with people who are into this field day in, day out. So we have Mr. Hiten. Welcome, Hiten, and thank you for joining us on this show. Mr. Hiten is from Library Wala. He's one of the founders and Library, if you get a background of what Library Wala is, Library Wala was founded in 2007. It was an idea that they got from different interactions that they had with people who used to visit bookstores and understand from them what is it that is missing and what can be done in order to enable people to read more. So it is difficult for us in today's era to buy books, every book that we would want to read. So how can we make it available at your doorstep? And that was the idea that they came up with and worked upon. And from Mumbai to Pune and to Bangalore, they have expanded over time. So Hiten, thank you for joining again and welcome. We would want to, sorry, we would want to understand from you to start with, what do you think is the importance of reading? Is it important to inculcate this habit of reading in our kids? And why do we struggle so much, and why do we stress about this topic so much when we say reading? My kid is not reading. So, what is the importance of reading?
So Prerna, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to your channel and also for taking up such a topic. And it is an absolute pleasure when somebody connects with us and speaks about the importance of inculcating this habit into their children. Now, over generations, we have seen that number of users for paperback books, and in fact, the reading percentage of our population has gone down. This is where companies like ours come into play, where we are looking to eradicate any issues that you have in accessing all kinds of books. Now, traveling while you live in a city like Mumbai, or for that matter in any of the metros these days, is one of the major hassles, and there is where our doorstep delivery comes into play. Coming to the importance of the habit of reading and why we should inculcate this into our children. I would like to emphasize on the word habit. We are made up of all of our habits here. And if we have a very good habit to exercise every day, we will stay healthy. If we have a habit of eating better, our diet is good, our food habits are better, then we'll stay healthier even. Likewise, for your mind or for your mental health, reading is very important. And if we start this at an early age in our children, what happens is, we teach them new words, we introduce them to new vocabulary altogether, we improve their focus and concentration. And apart from that, the most important aspect is that we teach them how to imagine, how to paint a picture in your mind while there is nothing in front of you but just words. That is how this habit helps them. So over the years, when they start to understand more and more, and if you have introduced this habit to them, their ability to grasp things more will improve. So it will not only help them in spending their time, they will be never lonely and all that stuff, but it will also help them be a better student. Not only for their educational purposes, but a better student and a learner throughout the life. It will teach them, how to keep on learning and adding to their skill sets. So I'm not talking about only children, but over a period of time, if your child is reading from the age of 4, and if it goes on as a habit till the age of 40, 50, you keep on learning and updating yourself. So there is where an early beginner is always a winner.
Right.
It's not easy. It's not easy inculcating this habit in your child. It's going to be very difficult, and with a lot of devices these days, you yourself have to invest a lot of time as well. That
Right.
is why reading is very important from a basic point of improving their concentration or focus to vocabulary, to teaching them how to self learn.
Right. Yeah, rightly said, Hiten. And when you said, no, it's not easy, it's difficult, I could totally relate to it because my daughter is 6 years old. And till 5 years, she used to hate reading. And we had to really sit with her and tell her at least read 4 lines, at least read 5 lines, every day, so that you can develop that habit. But now,
Right.
after 6 months, of pushing her to read 4 lines, 5 lines. Now she's able to finish a book of 20, 30 pages in a day. So this is how she has, she has grown in this area of reading, and this is how she has developed herself. So yeah, it is a skill, that you need to develop over time. It will not be inbuilt in you. A few kids are blessed to have it inbuilt, and few parents, I would say, are blessed that their kids enjoy reading since birth. But
So
Hiten, yeah, how do we encourage our kids? How can we encourage them to read? As I said, that it was difficult for me to make up my kid read, but then okay, I was at home, I had some time, so I could push. But
right.
if parents are not home, and how do we encourage? And there are kids who no, they don't enjoy, they would not want to, even if we push. How can we encourage them to read? Start slowly, read.
So, see, like your child is 6 years old. I have a 10-year-old at my house, and what I have learned is children don't do what we tell them, but they do what we do. And
Right.
my child tries to imitate me, do the things that the way I do. So it is very important that you read to them. They are not going to start themselves. You read to them, you draw a picture, you elaborate the story. Stories are the one of the oldest ways of communication that we have. And you just try and remember one of your fond memories or your sad memories, and you will see that there is a story around it because of which you still remember it. If there is no
Mm-hmm.
story around it, you will not remember. That is how
Right.
our educational system is also built upon. And that is what you need to do. Read 30 pages or 30 minutes to your child every night before they sleep. Make it a
Mm-hmm.
compulsion, like we pray every night,
Right.
right? Before we sleep, we pray, we thank God for everything that we have. In the same manner, you have to make it compulsory for the child that he at least listen to the story that I'm telling you, and take a book with him, show him the pictures, show them the the concept of reading, tell them that I'm reading half of it, you read half of it. That way, slowly and gradually, like you said, you were struggling initially, but 4 or 5 lines every day, and
Right.
now 25, 30 pages a day. So that is
Mm-hmm.
brilliant. That's
Yeah.
amazing growth. That way, you can introduce good books and good stories to them, and eventually, what will happen is, without that story, they will not sleep.
Right.
Whatever the time may be, they'll be habituated to a
Yes.
story before they sleep, and good stories will enable them to have good dreams also. So
Right. Right.
we all have read a book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind.
Yeah.
So every time, whatever we think before we sleep, you get answers to your issues when your subconscious mind works on it. That is how it works with children also. You give them a
Mm-hmm.
good story before sleeping, and they will have good dreams. If you introduce them to a new superhero,
Right.
that superhero will continue in the dream, them playing the same part. So that is how slowly and gradually, 30 pages and 30 minutes a day, you will have to invest in your child for a period of 6 to 8 months. And after
Mm.
that, you will have to get them books every single night. It will be an
Right.
automated process. You will not have to invest anything more.
Right.
So that is how you can inculcate this habit.
And also, Hiten will. So, as you said, that what kids see is what they imbibe and they
Yeah.
learn. So, one approach is to read out to them. Would also work that we read, and when they
Yeah.
see us reading our books, then they would also start reading, because this is how you show them that this is what is good and this is
You are
what
doing.
needs to be
Correct.
done.
Correct. Absolutely. So pick up a book for yourself, and then also get a book for them, and tell them, tuck them in the bed sheets and tell them to sit beside you and read, and you read yours. So
Yeah,
they will see you doing it, and slowly and gradually they will want to. But
yeah,
initially, if you are just starting to introduce books to them, it
yeah.
will be a picture representation. Something
Right.
like a comic book would be easier, Also, if you read to them and explain them the meaning of it, that will arouse a lot of interest in them. So that is something which you'll have to do initially. And then, of course, I would suggest even you to read, because 30 minutes a day is a good investment.
Yes, yes. So, picking up from your statement of giving them what kind of books, so what any suggestions or any tips you would want to give us in terms of how do we start? What kind of books do we start with uh, in our kids, and age-wise, if you can also tell us that what kind of books should they start reading to improve
Correct.
habit and feel interested towards reading.
See, age-wise, if I have to tell you, the best way to start is with bedtime stories and fairy tales, and something like Humpty Dumpties and Sleeping Beauties, and stuff like that, which are big picture out there and only 5 lines, and you're reading it to them, because between 4 to 7 they are not going to read on their own. Once they are 6.5 and 7 and they start reading on their own, they start forming these words. That is when you introduce them to basic comics like Amar Chitra Kathas. We generally don't value these comics, but they have a lot of culture, a lot of history. They have bifurcated a lot of things in Amar Chitra Katha, where you can introduce them to people like Rana Pratap or Rani Lakshmi Bai. You can introduce them to people like Birbal. These are very valued characters of our history that we can kind of show them to our kids in a very simple manner. So Amar Chitra Kathas are a very good start to begin with, because they have a good comic representation, good image representation. And once your child is fond of reading all that, then slowly and gradually, maybe around 8ish or so, they can start with Geronimo Stilton, Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew. If it's a girl, Nancy Drew is her favorite character. If it's a boy, Hardy Boys or Secret Seven. These are the characters that we have grown up to. And eventually, with Geronimo Stilton, Asterix and Tintins will come into play. And slowly and gradually, you move them out from the picture books and introduce them to non-picture books. That is teen novels that we have.
Right.
Sudha Murthy's books, for that matter, are wonderful if your child is about 12.5 or 13. And you can introduce them to Sudha Murthy's books, which are without pictures, but the stories are beautiful. Then we used to have these Malgudi days. The best part about the book is you pick up any character throughout the history, and everybody from from a comic or a TV serial or a movie is there in a book. So whatever you want to introduce to your child, Harry Potter for that matter, show them 1 hour of Harry Potter's first movie, and then give them the book and ask them to read till the same point. Now the curiosity is so much, and since they've already seen that movie adaptation of it, they can imagine it easily. But if you're going to introduce them directly to the book, the imagination part is going to be a bit hazy and a bit difficult. But since they have seen those characters, then the imagination works. So once they read it till that part, then it becomes easier to break the movie down like that. That's how we introduce them. If they're not willing to read on their own, willing to imagine on their own, then the other way around is something which we do. So that is something you can do. In terms of age-wise books, like I mentioned, up to 12, up to 8. That is the breakup that you have to look into, and slowly introduce them to all of these.
Right. Yeah. And after 12, they would be self-capable of understanding their interest and choosing the books on their own.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, wherever they are stuck, they can come up to their parents, what is the meaning of this word? What is the meaning of this phrase or sentence? And that's how you build their vocabulary also. And you see a percentage of people, a percentage of children who read, and the percentage of children who don't read. There is a vast difference in the way they understand things also. In certain schools, for that matter now IB or CBSE, they have made it compulsory to write 1-page review of the book that you have read. Right. So that is something which is fantastic. I welcomed it very nicely in our school also. You read a certain book and write what you have learned about from that book. What story did you understand? It can be right or wrong, but they just want to see whether the child has actually read or not.
Right.
We had this library period when we were young. We read books like Robinson Crusoe and Gulliver Travels, but we never wrote anything about it. If such an opportunity was there for us also, we would have been to this habit much earlier.
Yeah.
So we read because it was a compulsion. I'll be very honest with you. We read it was a compulsion. वो homework के जैसे था. And now I think it's a very good opportunity for our children to read quickly and learn quickly. So parents should definitely look into that and make sure that your child does this.
Yeah, and more so because in today's era, as parents, we are so much concerned about all these areas. No, initially at your era, your parents were not much concerned whether you're reading, whether you're not reading. No, you were up to yourself. But now it's very focused. We are focused in our children, what needs to be done, what not needs to be done. And so reading, it comes as a concern. And also because we have so many distractions around us. So there are video games, TVs, mobile phones, screen time. That's something which takes most of the time of our kids. So reading, no, they don't get much time to invest in reading. So that is also a struggle that as parents we are facing. So
So, like you said, screen time, where reading takes a backseat because of the screen time part of it. Introduce them to e-comics, introduce them to e-books. See, the idea is if you want to play a video game for half an hour, then you have to read for half an hour. There is some things that you want to do, and there are some things that we want you to do for your benefit. So that is how you communicate also to them that, if it's fine, you want to read on your tablet. Anyways, you are getting a 1 hour screen time on your tablet per day or on your video game. So it's up to you what you want to do, but out of that half an hour, you will have to read this book. It can be a paperback, it can be an e-book, whatever. I mean, slowly and gradually, when they have a 1 hour time which you have given them on their tablets, they will prefer to start reading more stories, and you will see that eventually that game playing will go down as they get more interested towards the comics. Now, parents come up to me, and also sometimes people say that ab to sab kuch phone pe hota hai. Everything is on the phone, everything is on the tablet. Why do you want and we still deliver more than 3,000 books a day.
yeah.
So that's not something that I will fully agree. But yes, times are changing, the generation is changing, people love to read on devices, and it's handy also sometimes. You're traveling and you just have a phone and you can open a book and read. So that's the reason, we also diversified into digital books as well. But the idea is, as far as your child is reading, regardless of the device that they are using or a paperback book, as far as they are reading 30 pages or 30 minutes a day, you should be happy with it. Screen time, yes, I understand. That's a struggle in my house also. My wife says he's already played on his PS4 today. But the point is that he's reading. He's investing his time in a comic book right now, or he's reading some story. And what I do is I also discuss with him every night as to what he read. So I want to see whether he's understood or not. It can be a very small comic book, or it can be a very normal story. The idea when you discuss it with them is whether they are able to express it also not or not. They've read, they have understood, but they might not be able to express it. And when you speak to them, you might want to help them doing that as well. So slowly and gradually they learn so much. And I have personally introduced a lot of concepts to my child in terms of so you've read Sapiens, right? You've read Sapiens, the book.
Right. Yeah.
How the world was formed, how
Yes.
the Big Bang happened, atoms and molecules and everything. So my kid is 10 years, and if you ask him, he will know the whole story. I did not introduce it to him as Sapiens book, but I introduced him as the story of space and as the story of how our planet was formed. So it depends on us also how we use these materials and teach them certain things. So we need to innovate a little, we need to invest our time a little, and that's the effort you will have to put in for a period of 6 months to 8 months, and then you will see that how the growth is automated, the development is automated because of the habit you have inculcated in them. So a lot of questions will come, and it will be fun also, because sometimes we don't know the answers, and we have to refer to Google or a book that way. So our parents didn't have that kind of education or exposure in those days. Hence, they did not or could not do it at that time. But right now, since we have it, we should definitely provide it to our child.
Right.
So that's the overall idea.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually, and when you're talking about these things, I can actually reflect and reflect about so many things that, okay, this can be done. And, there are small things that if we start doing it, then it would matter so much for our kids. So at this young age.
So I'll give you an example. Every child loves Maggie.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Ask them to read on the back of the cover how to make Maggie.
Okay.
Since they are interested in it, no, they will read it.
They will read.
That is like 20 lines there.
Right.
But that 20 lines, hot water, what is masala, what is this? They will ask you 10 questions. So these are very small concepts, very small things. But the importance of it is something which we cannot objectify. It is something which is tangent.
Right.
It's not tangent. Sorry, you cannot evaluate it. But small such things, and you will be surprised sometimes when they pop up an answer, or you'll be like, okay, he knows about it, where did he learn? But that's how you have subconsciously taught them how to learn everywhere. Okay. So whatever their interests are, using those interests, you can go ahead and ask them to read all those catalogs and manuals or things like that. For example, they're into video games. If they're playing a particular game a lot, then open up an article, a child-friendly article for them of that game, and ask them to read how the stage is taken care of, how the game was built, what was the idea behind it. So they are interested, hence they will read. Right. So that way also, slowly and gradually, you can put them into these kind of stories.
That's a very nice tip, Hiten. I will apply that from now on.
Thank you.
Yeah, because every time it is like, read a book. We'll get a book and read this. But we never think that, okay, they can read these small things, at back of the chips, at back of the chocolate, what is there. So yeah, it's actually getting into reading and not into what they're reading right now. So yeah, that's very nice. Thank you so much, Hiten, for your time and discussing this topic with us. It was very valuable and very insightful, at least for me. And I'm hoping it can be insightful for other parents as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hiten. We'll connect again. And bye. See you till then.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.